Okay, so welcome back to yet another video, and on this one, we need to talk about how to move on from the 8-bar loop. And we all had that problem, and it's a very common problem. And sometimes it's just hard to move on. It's just hard. But there are ideas, there are workflows, and there are techniques just to move forward from that. And it's very easy. Maybe you don't know them. I'm going to tell you right now. So this is for beginners, of course, and this works for most styles. Of course, each style has its own rules, but, we can still use the same workflow to make it work. Okay, so first of all, I got to tell you that humans are counting machines and pattern finder machines, and the brain loves to find patterns. That's the first thing I'm going to say. And on this one, I'm not just going to go and show you the techniques in 2 minutes, right? Because you can find that on YouTube. I'm just going to show you a few things, and I'm going to teach you in how the brain works and how your brain and my brain works whenever we listen to something. So we can, of course, predict what is going to happen and then make some changes and, make a track. Because that's the ultimate goal, right? Make a track. So I got a nice drum machine with some very super dumb sounds. And then I got, some clip right here. So everything is divided. Remember what I've told you. Everything, the human brain loves to find patterns, and we love to count. So right now we have a kick right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we have it for 4 bars. And then we repeat in different groups. Okay, so I'm going to go and I'm going to do some playing and try not to listen, trying to put your headphones, not to listen anything else on YouTube, just trying to listen this part. It's going to get a little bit boring, but that's the whole point. Okay, so I'm going to play it and then I'm going to explain you what's going on. Okay, so I'm pretty sure by this part of the track, it was this was super long, and it wasn't that long. It was just 22 seconds, and it's because your brain is just suffering, right? So okay, so let's just break it down. The first verse we hear the kick, and it's like the introduction. So on this part, your brain is kind of processing the new sound, which is the kick that we have right here. And you're just kind of processing and listening what's going on. And we do it for 1, 2, 3, 4 bars. So that is okay. That's fine. When we reach this point, we are, kind of starting to get a little bit bored. And then we go to the next one. And this one, of course, we do a little bit of suffering. We suffer just a little bit because it's the same thing. So we start to think, what the F is going on. It's the same thing over and over again. So we are starting to get a little bit annoyed. And then when we go to the next one, it's like, oh my God, this is the same thing. Just kill me now. All right. So this is the kill me now section. So, okay. So why is this happening to us? Why this happens in your brain? It was only 22 seconds. And it's because, of course, the brain likes to count, and we are just counting right here, but then we do the same thing and it's just not fun anymore. And we don't have any other new pattern for the brain to get entertained, because remember, the brain loves to count and hear patterns, recognize patterns. So since it's always the same pattern, you're going to get super bored. And this is actually something very common in neuroscience. The theory says that, of course, your brain will try to fill the sound that it knows, so to save energy. So, for example, if you listen to Western music like pop and rock, it's super easy to listen. And if you listen for 2 hours of dissonant jazz, and I mean really listen for 2 hours of dissonant jazz, I love jazz. But, after 2 hours, you really get tired. You're just like, you need a whiskey or something like that. Because your brain will use all this energy to process the complex sounds and complex parts and changes and, just complicated music. So your brain will use resources. So that's why you get tired. Now, of course, maybe you're thinking, why should I care how people's brain works with music? How people think. Well, again, the goal is to make music. So if you want to cause some kind of a pleasure or impact on whoever is listening, So we can use some techniques to manipulate the brain of the user, of the listener, and make it a little bit better. So we can, now that we know how the brain thinks and works, we can just use different techniques and resources to solve this. Now, of course, I'm going to go and prove this to you. And I'm chopping the video so this video is not that long because I could talk about this for hours. So, okay, so we have the same drum machine, same thing, but now I made some tiny changes every 4. Okay, so I'm going to go and play this. We get the same dump kick. Okay, when we start to get bored, we get something new and it's not that boring now. And then on the next one, when we start to get bored, we introduce a new element. So notice this is the same 22 seconds. And this one was not like, kill me now section, right? It's just a little bit better. Of course, it's a very simple, dumb clip, drum machine clip, But, we don't want to kill ourselves. It's just a bit different. Imagine what we can do if we add more elements, we use a few techniques, and then we extend this for, different sections, and we add instruments, we add bass, and we just, make all this progression. And our goal, again, is to keep the brain entertained. Because remember, the human brain likes to count. So what we need to do is to feed the brain in things to count. That's the principle. Now, the first rule, and we have rules, and this is my rules. Of course, you can differ in this, but this is my rules. So the first thing you need to do is to trust your instincts, because it's always about a vibe. Right now, when we listen to this, even though it's cool, it's kind of it could be better, right? We could do something much, much better. So this is my vibe, my instinct, my gut telling me, dude, you need to do something better. You need to add some things or do something. So this is your instinct, telling you something, and you need to trust it, because if it sounds good, it sounds good. And if it sounds bad, it's because it sounds bad. Your brain will tell you this, right? Your gut will tell you this. If you need to add something else, your body will tell you. You will feel that there's something else you need to add. Now, of course, why is your brain telling you this is boring? It's the same thing we discussed, a few seconds ago. It's boring because we have no patterns. So the second rule is going to be add something new every 4, every 8, or every 16. And I'm giving you, a different amount of bars or different sections, because sometimes some sounds, some parts of the tracks are very good, and you love to hear them for more than 4 or more than 8. So if that's the case, your body, your gut, your brain will tell you, not to change it, to keep it up, for maybe 16 bars if you have to. So keep there, you go back to the first rule. If it sounds good, sounds good. You don't need to change it. When it starts getting boring, then you need to do something about it. But it's usually after 4, 8, or 16 bars. All right, that's the second rule. Okay, so now we know that we need to keep adding in things after, something after 4, 8, or 16. But you also can add things in between. Let's say that this one, again, it's a little bit boring. How can we make it better? Well, maybe remember, humans are counting machines, so we can count in 4s. Why not, counting in 2? Maybe going to the second bar, and at the end of the second bar, or maybe someplace on the second bar, do something. Okay, so what I did, I added some tom right here. It's just the dumbest tom. So I'm going to go. It's that simple. Just a tiny thing. And it will kind of give the listeners something to process. And it will make, the whole thing a bit easier. Notice I'm right here, I'm just putting on a different place. Maybe I didn't like it so much, so I'm going to go and just put it on the same spot. And we are, again, repeating a pattern. But so even though it's the smallest thing, this is still going to work. Now, again, what if we grab all of this, this same concept, and we expand it to different things? So the next thing, it's going to be transitions. This is the next thing. Right now we are doing something every 2, and then we are going to the next 4 bars. Why not adding something right here on the 4 when we go to the bar number 5 in this case? So this is called a transition. We create transitions just to kind of merge the different sections, because right now we are going and doing some pattern, and then we go and we kind of change it, and then we change it, and then we change it. So it's always good you do something right here on this breakpoint to move forward or introduce the next section. Okay, so the first resource that you can use are going to be fills. I'm going to go and do some playing. We have the same dumb sound. Then the tom, just going to make it a little bit better. And then, right? It's just a little bit better. We're just connecting the different parts. And notice just, again, it's every time I play this, it's just a little bit less boring, right? And again, this, of course, it's our fills, and we always need to add fills. And the fills, how they work, they kind of introduce the listener to the next section. Now, another way of, getting this introduction to the next section, it's using risers or reverse hats or something like that. Okay, so right now I have a crash right here, and this is how it sounds, right? It's just a tiny crash. Now then what I do, I duplicate and then I reverse it. So remember, the idea is to provide kind of an introduction to the next section. So we do it with a fill, but the crash is going to provide kind of a raised introduction because it's reversed. So let me play the whole damn thing and see how it sounds. Same dumb kick. Right? Just a bit better. Just a bit better. And then we go to the next section. And we can even do the same thing right here. But in my case, I like to do it after, after maybe 8 bars, not 4 bars. And okay, again, this is one of the most used resource ever, using fills and using risers, or sometimes you find this as kind of a uplifters or downlifter. That's a different thing. But you can use a simple crash, just reverse it to give you an introduction to the next part. Now, maybe you do have experience creating tracks, so this is of course something very simple. This is a very basic resource. Remember, this video is for beginners, okay? Now, of course, not everything is about, dividing things. Sometimes we need to add something, because if not, this is just going to be a dumb loop. Okay, so I got a tiny bass right here, and I'm going to play now, and this is going to kind of take the song or the track to a new dimension, to a new place. Now it's going to be a completely different thing. So let me do the playing first. Right, same intro. And we get a nice bass, just a nice bass. All right. Cool. So now, of course, what is happening is that we are adding something else that is not something percussive. We are adding something that will give us more frequencies to process. And remember the rule, the brain gets bored. So if we do just this, it's going to be a simple kind of a loop drum track. So now the bass gives us frequencies. So now the brain or the listener is going to be a bit more entertained because we are introducing new sounds, new frequencies. And I don't do it from the beginning, because if I do all of this from the beginning, then it's going to start to get bored because it's always the same sound, right? So we need to, instead of giving or providing the listener this information so they can process it, we're going to wait. We're going to wait just a little bit, and we're going to introduce the bass a little bit later on the track. Okay, so what I did right now, I've added some chords and some arpeggio. Because remember, we know that we want to add more frequencies so the brain can be a little bit more entertained, processing new data, right? We know this. So I just added something, but this is just not going to work the way we want to. And we're going to, of course, discuss why. Right? We know all this works. It just works, feels good. And then So of course, at this point, this sounds like dog shit, of course. Now, and this is not because the chords are bad or the arpeggio is bad, even though I'm doing just something very simple with almost no processing. This is just not the problem. And the problem is how we introduce and how we use the tools we have available to make this one fit a bit better with the whole progression. Because remember, the first rule was trust the instincts, your instincts. And my instincts, it's telling me this sounds like crap. So I need to do something about it. And it doesn't matter I'm using a fill or an introduction when I'm introducing new frequencies for the brain to listen. Right now I'm suffering right here. My brain says, my instinct says, no, this is not right. It sounds bad. So okay, so we did fills, we are adding new frequencies. So we did everything, we talked about on the first, kind of two rules. There's something new every 4. We are doing that, and we are adding a transition, which is the fill, and this still doesn't work. So okay, so the next rules are going to be add silences or make better transitions. You need to use automation, and you need to plan your energy. Okay, so let's go. I'm going to go right now. So I'm going to kind of finish the video, but I'm going to just show you what we can do by using these 3 last rules. Okay, so I've got a finished product right here. Now, of course, I'm not going to win a Grammy with this track, but now when I play the track, we're going to start to feel that this is starting to be like a track. We get that feeling because it's a track. It's a shitty track, but it's a track. So I'm going to go and do some playing, and we're going to start feeling better about all the different sections that we did. And we are just following the same rules. The bass works. Since it works, I'm gonna keep it. Alright, so much better than before. You're not throwing all the instruments at once. And it works. Alright. So we are adding a new element, the ride. And I like this vibe, so I'm going to keep it for more bars, because I like it. And as soon as I get bored, I change it. Right? It's that simple. And then when I get bored of the silence, I'm going to go and add just a kick and go slowly up. Okay. Okay, of course, I did this just following the same rules, trusting my instincts, something new, and adding transitions. We know that. Now, what I did right now is adding silences. So this is like the 4th rule. Always try to use silences or think a silence as a resource. In this case, I'm using it as a transition. I'm gonna go do play. Yeah, and it works. So using silences is like the oldest trick in the book. We've been using silences forever. And if you go right here to the break, this is kind of a big silence with a different sound in the background. And it works again. Right. So the next rule is going to be, and this is like one of the most important rules whenever you make tracks, is use automation. And at least maybe I wouldn't say use automation whenever you do rock music or blues music. Of course, there's something about automation when you do some mixing mostly, but in this style of music, using automation is a must, because automation will give you a variation to the sound. Because remember, or just notice that the whole track is the same thing. I'm gonna go right here, select this one. Is this tiny loop, and this is our 4 or 8 bar loop. It's the same thing over and over again. And the only thing we did, we made a deconstruction of this one by removing parts and then playing them, one after the other one. It's just a deconstruction of this loop. So if you have a nice loop, the only thing you need to do is just see if you can hide them some here or someplace, maybe show them here, then hide them there, adding, something else, just a tiny part, but it's just a deconstruction of the highest energy of the clip, which is your 8 bar loop, most of the times, of course. So automation will give you that illusion that there's something else going on. And this actually, I can prove this right here. Now, remember on the previous one, when we throw all the instruments at once, the arpeggio and the chords, that didn't work, right? So in this case, what I'm doing, I'm providing a slow introduction to the chords before we throw the chords, to in front of the track. So this is what it does in brain terms, to the brain of the listener, is that the listener now it's thinking, okay, so there's something going on, something new going on that wasn't happening right here on this bar, on these 4 bars. Now it's happening here and there's something new. We cannot hear it because it's very low. We are filtering all the high frequencies, so we cannot hear it very well, right? But there's something going on, so the brain is going to be a little bit entertained or occupied into listening what's going on right here. So 4 bars after, we introduce the sound. Right. So what we do, we give something to the listener that it's not very clear, and then we provide the solution. We provide create a question or do something that's not very clear, and then provide the solution, because we always need to provide some kind of resolution. If we don't resolve things, the listener is going to be a little bit frustrated because things are not resolved. And this is just like watching a movie. You're watching a movie, you see the plot, and everything is in place, and then the movie ends, and you don't have a resolution, and that sucks, right? Well, this is the same thing. I'm just giving you something to think about, something that you don't know, and at one point I'm going to resolve it. Same thing with the arpeggio. I'm giving you something you don't understand, and then I'm going to resolve it. I'm going to provide that information to you so you can be happy and dance and whatever it is that you like to do. So automation is a very, very important thing in this case for us. And it's also important because it will give you a way of changing the sound that you're using. Because if you think about this, it's the same chords over and over and over again. And right here on the break, we go up and down with the filter. And this is going to trick the listener's brain or mind into thinking that there's a new sound, or maybe it's the same sound, but it's a little bit different. So we're going to, get stuck right here thinking, okay, so it's a little bit different. So you're not going to get bored because you've been listening for the same thing for 16 bars, right? That's why automation, it's something that separates the newbies from the pros, okay? Always think about automation to add filtering, to add transitions, or to add a modulation. Maybe you could do a little bit of pitch, changing the pitch, or maybe adding reverb, whatever it is that you like to do automation. And this is the part where you need to be creative. So the next thing, it's about the energy. And this is something that we need to plan beforehand. So I'm going to go, not there. Let me just go back here. Okay. So if you notice the song or the track, it's not the same always. And of course, this was planned. When the track starts, it's very low in energy. So I'm going to go and play it. So we get just a kick, so we don't get much. It's very low. And as soon as you're starting to get bored and we introduce a new element, our idea is to go up in energy. Because we want to keep here, but we don't go straight to here. We provide a slow introduction, a slow transition, because our goal is to reach this section, the highest part of the song. Now, the most energetic part of the song. So we always go in tiny, tiny little parts. And at this point, this is the highest energy of the song. Now, of course, we start down and we slowly go up. And when we get bored, we cannot go upper than this. What do? We go down. Yeah, we just go down to go up, and then we go down to go up again. So this is the energy of the track. This is very important because the energy is what the listener is going to feel. It's kind of how the track is going to be perceived. You're going, very low in energy, and it's nice to hear. And then at one point, you start growing and growing, and you get and that's my phone. And of course, you get the highest peak. So right here, you're dancing, you're doing whatever it is that you like to do. And whenever it's just too much, because maybe the section is too long, or you're starting to lose focus on what you're doing, you go down. That's it. You just go down in energy. Remove elements and go down. And we always, when we go down, we want to go up again. So you can have a repeating the same thing you're doing right here, right? And this is, of course, the basic concepts. At the end of the day, you can do whatever you want. Maybe start with the highest part on energy on the song. You can start very high and then go low. And then, go low for all the verses and then keep going up until you reach again the highest peak. Or maybe go low and provide a faster transition right here in this part at the beginning of the song. Go high and then low and then do whatever it is that you want to do. But there's always something about going up and going low in energy and going up in energy. And this is something that you need to learn, and you need to listen from other people. You need to go to Spotify or whatever it is that you want to use. Maybe create a playlist with whatever style that you like, and then just sit down and remember the workflows, the rules. Go with the instincts. Notice whenever you are starting to get bored, what happens on that track. Just write down whenever you get introduced to new sounds or new elements, including modulations or whatever. Just listen to the transitions. If the transitions, all the people's tracks will teach you how to create, kind of a more creative transitions. Listen to that. Then when is the track, using silences? That's the fourth one. How the user or the other artist, it's using automation. And the next one is the energy. And this is how you can plan or you can decode someone else's track, right? And then use it on your own productions. And we all do this. So if you're thinking, dude, that's stealing, you're stealing from someone else. We all do this. From Metallica to the Beatles to Nirvana, and everyone does this. And this is kind of a boring. We call it borrowing ideas. You listen to something that you really like, and maybe you use a tiny part in your productions, and this will teach you how to do that. And then when you make one track, 20 tracks, 50 tracks, all of this process, all of this workflow that we are doing right here is going to be very natural. So it's going to be very easy for you to create a loop and then go make a track, or just expand the track. Because whenever you have something like this, something that sounds like a track, you're going to get more inspired into, of course, finishing the track. Okay, so of course, following these 6 rules is very important, but it's not the whole cake. There's still a lot of mixing involved, knowing your instruments, like, maybe you like the Mini B, which I'm using right now, and you need to how to use it. You need to learn how to use the Mini B if you want to use that. Because whenever you want to make a change, if you don't know how to make the change, how are you going to make the change? So you need to learn your stuff. You learn the tools. And of course, there's creativity right there, but that's something that you learn as you finish tracks. And this is the 7th rule, and this is one of the most important rules. Finish your tracks. It doesn't matter if it sounds crappy like this one. Just go and finish it. It doesn't matter the transitions suck. It doesn't matter if the silence that we are using right here sucks. It doesn't matter. Just finish the track. Right? Because a finished track, it's always much better than an unfinished track. An unfinished track is just an idea that you developed and you spent time and you never really used. A finished track, it's something you can be proud of. Maybe it sounds crap, but you finished, right? And when you finish a track, it means that you can move forward and make another track. And when you make 1, you make 2, you make 10, you make 30, you make 30 or 50 or whatever, you're always going to learn something new until you reach to a point where making a track is going to be very simple for you. That's the way it works. Now, I was not going to show you this, but why, what the fuck, is my channel. I can do whatever the fuck I want. So I'm just going to show you. So this is a track of an album I made not so long ago. I made it for this channel, and I did like 5 or 6 synthwave tracks, and I had to choose a style, and I chose synthwave because it's simple, it's easy to hear, and we can use synths. We don't need acoustic instruments like a guitar or something else. We can use synths all over the place. So what I did, I just took these 7 rules we just discussed and made tracks. The original album has hardware synths, so I do have a lot of hardware, synths. So I just use that one because, those ones because I like them and I really like to use them. And right now I'm just trying to recreate everything I did with the plugins. So let me just show you this. We're just still following the same rules. Same rules. Start low in energy and we start going up. Right? Simple as that. We introduce a new element to keep the brain entertained. That brass in the background. And I introduced the arpeggio. Right? Very simple. Simple stuff. Simple things, simple ideas go a long way. And as soon as we start getting bored, we prepare a transition and we try to move to the next section, which is going to be a verse. And of course, we need to add a lead. But everything in the background is just pretty much the same. I'm just, silencing the arpeggio and going down in volume just to introduce this element, which is the lead. And I'm doing automation to manage the volumes. Again, we are using the same simple ideas. That's how I built all of this. And I did it on purpose, so this can be teachable for you. And then we go to the highest part of the track, which is the highest energy, like a chorus. And notice the lead does something else, and of course we're going to discuss all of this. And when we go up, what do? We want to go down, and we go down, and we do something different, of course, based on the same sounds. And of course, then we go down, and we just go here, and we start going up at one point whenever it gets boring, and we just start building our way up. Notice the energy starts going up. Using the same trick, silence. Alright, so very simple. And I did this just following the same simple 7 rules, alright? Now there's a lot of course, involved in which sounds we are using, how we are combining the frequencies, which effects we need to use. There's of course a lot of that, and we will discuss it when we reach this. I need to finish, remaking all the tracks, but we're gonna talk about that in a few weeks whenever this is recorded and ready to be live on YouTube. All right, so that's it. Hopefully you like this, and just give a like, subscribe, of course, if you can, and check Patreon as well. A lot of the things that I'm going to be uploading right here on YouTube are going to be first on Patreon. But this section, it's going to take a few more weeks, maybe a couple months into, so I can finish and record all of this, because it's going to be a little bit long. Imagine that we need to talk about all of this, plan all of this, do all the sounds. So it's going to take a little while. Okay, so see you on the next one.